Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for January 22nd, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great afternoon, a great evening, ready for another wild and woolly day in the market. Netflix driving the markets higher this morning on their blowout earnings, looking very, very good this morning, and the market seems to be in a celebratory mood. Although we are very extended in the short term. There's a new article this morning out that I just thought was really interesting from Henry Allen. He's a strategist at Deutsche Bank, and he is saying the markets seem pretty exposed, even if Trump only follows ahead with his stated tariffs. We are really stretching this market in a big way. And it goes on to say another area of concern is the equity market, where valuations of stocks relative to earnings are reminiscent of that of the late 1990s dot-com bubble. Growth is only 2.7% over the last 4 quarters and expected to continue in the low mid-twos, which means equity valuations are the highest they have been since that subdued rate of growth. So we are with such a subdued rate of growth. So we are seeing some of the highest valuations we have ever seen based on results, growth from companies, and yet we are really in a celebratory mood. So one of the things I want to chat about just a little bit is to be a little bit careful chasing this run to the upside. I think there may be some evidence of a few issues out there. But that being said, let's take a quick look at what happened overnight. Asian markets did a pretty good job yesterday. Australia was up 0.33%. Nikkei zoomed up 1.58%. India was up 0.57%. South Korea was down mostly. And then we had Hong Kong sharply lower, down 1.63%. In Shanghai falling 0.89%. If we take a look at European markets, however, this morning, they're all bullish and decidedly bullish in the DAX, up 1.20%. The FTSE's up 0.27%, and the CAC is up 0.92% out of some good results from Adidas in Europe. If we take a look at U.S. futures, they are also green this morning, with NASDAQ leading the way, up 0.84%. S&P 500 futures are looking up 26 points, and we've got Dow futures up 119. NASDAQ futures right now up 175. So kind of keep an eye on that. Lots of bullishness going on. Oil this morning, if we take a look at oil is bouncing back up. It was a little bit down yesterday. Right now, oil is up 27 cents a barrel. We've got Brent crude up at $79.50 a barrel, up about 21 cents a barrel. Natural gas resuming a little bit of a bounce here this morning, up just about 3 cents. We'll have to keep an eye on that. It is coming into that trend, trying to bounce a little bit higher this morning. One of the reasons that is likely the case is because we're seeing the dollar continue to fall. Bond yields, and probably one of the best news items in the market right now, I think, is that the dollar is falling and those bond yields are pulling back. So we've got the dollar pulling back, kind of breaking trend here on the dollar. So keep an eye on that. That is one of the better things going on in the market right now, in my opinion. And not the Netflix earnings are great, but to help the overall market, seeing that decline, that is a good sign. And right now we have the 2-year bonds at 4.27%, the 10s are at 4.58, and the 30s at 4.81. Much more behaved than they have been here in some time. And then if we take a look at the results here in precious metals, we've got gold pushing for a little bit of a gain. It's been up as much as Well, almost $10 an ounce this morning, but right now it's up $5.70 an ounce in the futures. Interestingly enough, silver is down just a little bit, down 6 cents at 31.43 an ounce. We've got copper and platinum a little bit lower, and we've got palladium a little bit higher this morning. So keep an eye on that. With all of this uncertainty about tariffs, we could see some massive fluctuations here. So be prepared for considerable volatility as we move forward. So what does all that mean? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up and let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thanks so much for being here. I hope it's warmer in your area of the world. Boy, it's been freezing cold here, but we warmed up nicely yesterday, and weather's looking better. Hopefully, it's starting to improve in your area as well. Let's take a look at these markets and see if we can gain some information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, everyone, this is not a when we look at these charts, we want to shake off that bias. We want to look at the charts for what they are, not for what we want them to be. And one of the things we see here in the market right now is the diamonds in a tremendous stretch to the upside. We're really stretching this rubber band on this surge back to the upside hard, and the gap up this morning adding to that pressure. So if those bulls can continue to find that inspiration and push up through here, well, we may be right back up here testing some of that underneath side of that resistance here in the chart as we're heading back toward these all-time highs in the market. A lot of anticipation on earnings driving this. We'll want to be very, very careful if we do happen to get some of those news items from the administration on tariffs that could really change currency values here pretty quickly and add some pressure to the market. One of the things that you guys know that I am, the trades that I trade, I do not like. I will not chase this. It doesn't mean I can't go into an intraday chart and find a bullish pattern, but I don't want to chase this move as we're so extended. A pullback in here, any kind of whipsaw could get you pretty quickly. I want to see a rest or pullback, hold some support. If we can do that, then I'm interested, and my thoughts change much more bullish. But chasing this stretch here in the market is a dangerous business, so be very, very careful here. If the bears were to get going, you could easily see that pullback, and of course, the only place we have in here for the next level of support would be maybe down here below yesterday's candle. So we could see pretty substantial pullbacks occur if those bears come to the realization that we're a little bit stretched to the upside. So watch carefully. No evidence in the chart that says that. It's some experience saying be really, really careful here. If we take a look at our SPY, also extremely bullish, stretching big time. We really have that potential here this morning with the Netflix earnings. We could be up here. Well, first, in the pre-market, we're breaking this resistance in the chart, and we could be right up here testing all-time highs here again in the SPY. Again, evaluations of the SPY, PE ratios in the SPY are extremely elevated at the moment, and we are just throwing caution to the wind in this stretch to the upside. So be careful here. If the bears were to find inspiration, well, once again, pushing back in here, we've got some pretty big pullbacks that could occur, trying to find some support areas in the chart. Remembering we've got some pretty decent gaps left behind. If we fall into those gaps, moves could be substantial and painful. So make sure you've got a good plan to protect yourself if you're racing into this market. And then if we take a look at QQQ, also quite the stretch back up, breaking through our downtrend here, continuing to press in the Netflix earnings, helping a bunch this morning, breaking through the resistance of this high here and pushing for the resistance of that high. So as we continue this big celebration to the upside, watch that carefully in that resistance area of the chart here again. valuations are very, very high. And if those bears were to have anything to say about it, it could be a bit of a painful pullback. And remember, it's the last one in the door, chasing to the upside, that ends up with the most punishment. So be careful here with that fear of missing out. If we were to pull back in here, the pullbacks again could be fairly substantial. First testing here, and then I think pushing back down into areas like this and even coming lower if those bears get going. So watch carefully here for that possibility. And then if we take a look at IWM, well, IWM, nice push yesterday, breaking through this downtrend here in the chart. Also stretching up here, but not as much energy here in the Russell. But it is a very good sign to see us breaking through that resistance here in the chart in this downtrend. What we need now is that rest or pullback to prove that we can hold and establish an upside trend. And that's really all I'm asking for the market to do right now. And all of the indexes, give us that pullback, give us a higher low, establish an upside trend instead of this wild race to the upside, the chase with the fear of missing out. Now, be careful here. We could easily continue this stretch on higher and see us push up into here fairly easily. That's the next area of resistance I'd be watching in the Russell. And if the bears were to come in, well, maybe that pullback in here to these support areas to hold, breaking down below there, we'd have a little bit of concern, maybe come up in the market. Now, if we take a look at our VIX, we had some really good news yesterday. We did finally break and confidently break this upside trend. So that's a good sign. We're pulling some of that fear out of the market. But that celebration that we're in right now really is reminiscent to me of, the dot-com bubble. And the fact that we're chasing these prices higher puts us in a little bit of a danger place here in the market. But watch that closely. If the bulls can continue this celebration, we might break some of these support levels and continue to push on down. We might be getting just a little bit complacent, though, so watch that carefully. If the bears were to have anything to say and bounce back up in here, remember, some of those pullbacks can be pretty rough and pretty painful if you're the last one buying in at the top. So watch that close. And then if we take a look at our T2122, it's definitely telling us that we're in the danger zone here of T2122. Here we are gapping up substantially this morning. We're going to have T2122 really nailed to the ceiling here in this move. Now, remember, we can linger up here. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to fall. And as a matter of fact, any kind of consolidation can leave that pressure as well. I'm not suggesting we're going to collapse or move back down, but we certainly have some risk here. Upside move, and you can see there's not much space here. Downside, huge open space. We are very overbought in the short term, and that's why I'm echoing this caution over and over. Be really careful with the fear of missing out chase here in the market in that stretch. If we take a look at our T2108, had a good response here in T2108, pushing up nicely yesterday, pushing through some of these resistance levels in the chart, and you'll notice we're almost back up here where half of the stocks are above their 40-day moving average. So we're close, 47, almost 48% of the stocks above their 40-day moving average as we continue this move. Watch that area there. Crossing back over there will relieve some of those concerns on the bulls, because we'll get about half the stocks above their 40-day. Our T2107 percentage of stocks above the 200-day did make that crossover yesterday, breaking through a little bit of resistance right in the close on that surge at the end of the day. Now, this is going to be really critical that we can hold this up here, this big stretch from where we were in a straight up move. We'll want to watch that carefully. If there's any hint of bears, I would look for the sellers to come in quick if there's any hint of bears. So watch for that potential of a whipsaw, anything like that. If the bears come in, make sure you have a plan to protect your profits, because we could move quickly if that were the case. If you take a look at our T2101, this is also good news. We saw breadth follow that move yesterday. It wasn't as impressive as maybe you would expect in those moves. And honestly, when you start measuring from the low of the market up to here, this really hasn't been impressive breadth. But it has been following the market here, and yesterday we got a nice surge. So you gotta give that to the bulls and say, hey, they're doing a good job here. Let's see if they can hold this, but watch that closely if we do start to hook over here. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. If we take a look at what we've got going on. There it is. There's our economic calendar. It's, again, a pretty light day. It's more about earnings than anything else today. We've got mortgage applications coming in here this morning. Let's see. They might already be out because I'm a little bit late here this morning. Mortgage applications coming in 0.1. We've got purchase index 0.6 and refinance coming in at a negative 2.9. So nothing really spiffy there on that. We're going to get Atlanta business Fed inflation expectations. We're going to have leading indicators here. The leading indicators there suggesting a negative 0.1 and consensus down from a 0.3. And we've got treasury buybacks going on still. We've got a 4 and a 20-year bond auction, which will be interesting to pay attention to on the 20-year. So watch that carefully. Treasury buyback results after that. As we look into Wednesday, we've got our normal jobless claims, a natural gas report, Kansas City Fed manufacturing numbers, some bond auctions, petroleum numbers will be out, and a 10-year tips auction with the Fed balance sheet. So be watchful for that. On the earnings calendar, it's the earnings calendar where we're going to get pretty darn busy. And remember, guys, we're reaching that point where I will not be able to cover all the potential earnings in the morning prep, and today is going to be one of those days. I'll cover the pre-market ones, but you're going to have to click the link below the title of the video to get to the full list of notables for this afternoon. So things like ABT today, we've got LA Financial will be reporting, APH will be in there, BKU, CMA, we got CBSH reporting, GEV is going to be in there, FNB, we've got Halliburton and J&J. We're going to hear from OFG. We've got Procter this morning, TEL, TXT, Travelers is in here, and UCB will be reporting here this morning. So keep an eye on those notables here this morning. This afternoon, we've got things like Alcoa. We're going to hear from Kinder Morgan. We've got KNX, Knight Swift Transportation will be in there. We've got Steel Dynamics, Discover Financial will be in there. Canadian Pacific will be reporting as well. So kind of keep an eye on some of those for this afternoon. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you could do me that quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could please do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to grow. I truly appreciate the kind support of the effort. I never in my wildest dreams expected there would be this many people that would be interested in content like this that doesn't provide any prediction. It doesn't provide any hype. It's all about just what the charts are saying out here in the market. And so thank you so much for all that kindness and sharing these videos and supporting the channel. You guys are awesome. Let's take a look at a few of these charts setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Be very, very careful in this market because of the stretch that we've got right in here. A lot of emotion spilling out in the market, and if something slips, it could slip and move quickly. So first off, take a look at Occidental in here. I placed a price alert here on Occidental. I was looking for that to hold some support in here, but we did get that pretty strong pullback here in oil yesterday. Now, that's kind of odd when we saw the dollar falling. Typically, you're going to see oil move to the upside when the dollar weakens. But watch this carefully in here if we can still hold this support. Remember, what we're looking for in here is we're looking for this to hold a higher low. And I see this a lot where we've got this range-bound area here in Occidental. We've created the shoulder over here. So here's our shoulder. Here's our head, and we may have to just be a little bit range bound in here for a little bit to see if we can find that energy to push on through to the upside. No pun intended there, but watch that carefully on Occidental. And there's quite a few stocks out there looking really good in that sector. Take a look at EQT. It's just amazingly strong here in EQT, pushing up here through some resistance in the chart. Notice we're consolidating up here. I'd keep a close eye on that for that next opportunity. As the dollar falls, we would normally see bullishness coming into oil sector, so watch that closely here. Looking pretty good, and there's quite a few out there in that area getting these nice little resting pullbacks now here in Conoco. Watch that carefully. Look for that next opportunity there in those oil prices, particularly if the dollar really does fall and we see those bonds falling. Speaking of bonds, when bond yields fall, we typically see bonds go higher. We've got our first little hint that there could be a reversal here in those bond yields. Nice little push to the upside here. You see we might be creating a bit of a head and shoulders type pattern in here. We need maybe a little bit of rest for that to be completed. It is also possible with the dollar continuing to fall, we could push right through that resistance and then find that higher low in the chart. So keep an eye on TLT here. You can see that potential bottom coming in here. And if those bond yields fall, I think we could expect the big banks will start buying up bonds really hard. So watch that carefully here in the market. You could also look at things like BND, the bond fund here from Vanguard. Nice little pattern starting to form. We've got that first part, and you can see this morning maybe breaking through. Now, clearly we've got some resistance up here, but we could break through this and hold up here. Then we've completed that head and shoulders pattern. So I would keep an eye on some of these potential bond funds and bonds out there. There may be clues that things are starting to change here, and that would be a nice sign for the market as well. So watch that closely. Also, take a look when we see the dollar fall. And when I say dollar fall, if you take a look at the dollar itself, dollar falling, maybe breaking some trend, we've got some support coming into that chart. We could possibly come all the way back down into here on that support in the chart. So watch that carefully if the dollar continues to weaken. You'll notice up here we've got that pattern up here. There's that little head and shoulders type pattern showing there in the dollar. So watch carefully here. If that continues and those bond yields fall, that's going to be bullish for the market and very bullish here for bonds themselves. It could also be very bullish for precious metals. Take a look at gold. Gold making a really nice move here yesterday. Still trying to push to the upside today. So if the dollar continues to fall, in here, we have a pretty good potential that gold could rally. Now, any rest or pullback in here, that's what I'd be watching for now. This stretch through resistance, any rest or pullback in here sets up a really good opportunity that we could attack these highs here in gold. So watch that carefully. And if you don't want to be in GLD, which is just paper gold, and want some physical gold, take a look at PHYS. PHYS physical gold. Big day yesterday, did pull back quite a bit there before the end of the day, but a little resting pullback in here would be just what the doctor ordered for that next opportunity to engage the trend and support here to see that move to the upside. But it is going to require that dollar to come down. You could also take a look at silver in here. Now, silver, not quite as bullish as we've been seeing gold, but what you can see here in silver is we're breaking through this downtrend here in the chart. I would keep a close eye on that. Of course, anytime we see silver and gold moving up, you might want to be taking a look at some of the mining stocks out there, GDX. If you want a basket of them, pushing up nicely, as you can see, coming out from under this downtrend here, holding that higher low in that chart, really starting to show some bullishness. We are going to be engaging this resistance, so don't be surprised if we get a little bit of a rest or consolidation in here, or even a pop through, and then we get that rest. But watch that carefully in GDX. You can take a look at stocks, individual stocks like KGC. KGC testing a major resistance area here in the chart. If KGC were able to break through that resistance, watch out. There could be some nice upside after a big resistance break like that. Take a look at AU. AU having a nice breakout here, pushing strongly to the upside, breaking through this resistance. And so now any rest or pullback, I think, sets up an opportunity in AU. You might also take a look at some of the grain commodities. Take a look at corn. If the dollar falls, expect corn to rally pretty strongly. We got a big push yesterday on that dollar pulling back. So any rest or pullback in here, I think, maybe sets up an opportunity here in some of those hard assets out there in the world if the dollar starts to shrink. So watch that carefully here on that. Other places you might want to look, boy, I got to tell you, there's been some impressive moves in the aerospace defense area of the market. Big surge here in RTX. We see big moves in a lot of these stocks. Now, again, we need a rest or pullback. There is no trend here when we go straight up like that. We need that pullback in here to establish the upside trend. So I wouldn't chase that, but I would keep a close eye on it. And if you look around, LMT put in a really nice pattern, and this is exactly what I want to see, where we break a downtrend and we rest here for a few days and then start on through to the upside. Now, I'm not saying you should chase this here. I would say that if we draw a trend right through here, this may have to rest a little bit now, so watch that carefully for that next opportunity into LMT. General Dynamics making a nice move up off of a bottom. You can see breaking some of this trend, holding in here that little higher low support, continuing to push once again. Draw that trend, look for that little bit of a resting pattern, look for that next opportunity in General Dynamics. Northrop Grumman had a huge day yesterday, really surging again. I wouldn't want to chase something like that, but a little rest or pullback, I'd look for the next opportunity in those stocks. Now, if we take a look at PLTR, I know it's a software company, but it's essentially a aerospace defense stock anymore because they're putting their technology into all of their military contracts. So watch that carefully. We broke this downtrend here in the chart, pushing back up, and we're regaining some of this support. So any rest or pullback, I would be looking for an opportunity there in that chart. One thing I would just really caution everyone to be careful of is Be careful chasing those already extended stocks. Anything that gives a little rest or pullback that holds a higher low provides a good opportunity for an entry into trades. There's also, guys, quite a few charts out there that look like this that are not all that bullish. So if you're looking for a little bit of bearish activity in the market, although I just went through and looked at a bunch of bullishness here in the market, there are a lot of stocks out here showing that potential that they may go lower. So make sure that you've got a little bit of a balance in your trading, that you're being very, very careful, not getting too carried away all on one side of the market. But there's so many of these now starting to show that sneak through the downtrend, trying to hold in here, look for that next opportunity for that to pop higher if we can continue to see that dollar fall. If this chase continues, however, just remember the pullback could be strong and it could be painful, so make sure you plan carefully how much risk you put into this market. So with that, everyone, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. And, let me know in the comments if you believe the market is overextended or if I'm just completely out of my mind. You make the decision. Y'all take care. Be safe. See you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Wish you all the best.